all these callbacks that for someone who is reportedly so offline, he seems to know a lot about what people are doing online.
It's just a fantastic freaking moment. A Nigerian American country star with the #1 single.
We went through 100 to 11 the last few weeks. The top 10! There was some fireworks on the 4th of July, 7 o'clock Eastern time, courtesy of Mr. Kendrick Lamar, officially dropping the Not Like Us video. It has 41 million views in 5 days.
That was like
on
5
YouTube.
days ago?
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
Those numbers are nuts for like 2022.
Yeah, I literally was trying to think what
2024.
is even better. 2024.
These videos don't get played on YouTube like that anymore.
Yeah, I think
I was trying to think of the last music video that really.
I think Houdini, because Houdini had like 20 in a day.
But I'm trying to think. I guess like made an impact in a
cultural.
I mean, even just like we're waiting for this video to drop kind of moment.
Like when the stills dropped, people were excited.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen people that excited over music video stills in I don't know how long.
Mm-hmm.
And that was crazy. Just seeing people being like, oh man, they were dissecting images of a video that they have no idea about.
Yeah.
And it's
the
crazy.
only comparison I can make is like people waiting for the Renaissance visuals,
which never came.
It
will not come.
Which are still coming, but like for me, it kind of gives like
they're still coming.
Beyonce and Kendrick being different foils of Prince.
Yeah,
like they both really take from him in that way, and it's really interesting to watch Kendrick sort of like get into this pop star mode again, but also deliver a video that's technically such a great piece of art.
Yeah,
like just well shot, well fitted, just like I compare it to like the Family Matters music video, and it's almost like just two different levels that they're operating on, just visually and aesthetically. And obviously, Dave Free being a co-director was already another nail in the coffin as to what Drake was talking about on his track. So that was a nice touch as well. Even not even getting into Whitney dancing and all the kids and everything like that yet. But what did you think of the video?
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say let's get to the nitty gritty. 6-minute long video, a lot of dope choreography, a lot of fire guest cameos. DeMar DeRozan in the video, Miss Whitney and the kids make a nice cameo at the end of the video, showing off their snazzy dance moves.
Speak on it.
Did you cry?
I'm trying to
let him use you,
man. Man, like it was a fun but tough watch as a Drake fan.
I can't believe you put this much stock into it.
That's the part because that was pretty much the final dagger.
This nigga said it was weighing heavy on my heart.
On the 4th of July, he's a methodical, meticulous, calculator motherfucker.
No, pop out on Juneteenth video on July 4th.
Yeah,
he really was like, you were colonizing ass.
It's also crazy that was the first time we've seen Drake out in the public eye.
Oh yeah,
with his peers
because he was at the white party.
At the white party,
right?
And then Kendrick drops the video. We've all been to parties when shit like this drops. Everyone takes their phone out and watches it. I have to imagine, unless Ruben took everybody's phones, that the same thing happened.
And I promise you that song did not get played at the party.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I feel like it must have been like a Gossip Girl moment. Like everyone like running to the bathroom to like watch the video on their phone as Drake is just walking around looking haggard.
I'm sure Drake watched it too. I'm sure he was like, let's see. Let's see what it is. I don't think like he runs from it. I think he's just like, fuck. Like, all right, this is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just to sum it all up, great video. I thought the choreography was on point.
Yeah.
There was a lot of subliminals people were talking. So we could dive into that.
Rewatching like capability of it, I think that's almost part of the genius of it because there's no way you caught everything the first time. I don't care who you are, what kind of, scholar you think you are. Like obviously there's so many threads and just going through the comment section, going through Reddit, like and some of it, it's almost crazy because some of it feels like a reach where some people are like, oh, I saw someone like, oh, he did 17 push-ups in the cell because Drake doesn't do anything over 18. And it's like, it's crazy, but I guess it fit, I get like, maybe, this is some super English teacher kind of reading, but it makes you kind of go back and be like, damn, he did do 17. I wonder if that, it's
like the scene in the cell where he's doing this,
and then people
I found the video of Drake doing this with like I don't know whose kid that was in the video that he's doing it with, but it's like all these callbacks that for someone who is reportedly so offline to the point where his company released a phone that has no apps or, very basic internet connection. He seems to know a lot about what people are doing online. And it's not like Jay, where we know Jay looks at Instagram. He has friends who are on Instagram who show him things. Like, Kendrick gives off the impression that he doesn't do anything online. He doesn't even look at it. But this video, I'm like, you clearly look at it. Like, you are clearly tapped in to what everybody is saying.
Mind you, you brought up the phone. I don't know if you caught Dave on the PG.
Yeah, he's using the phone.
On the basic phone that they dropped last year.
Right. Yeah.
I got to pose you guys this question. I know where I stand on this. Okay. Do you guys feel like, in some cases, Kendrick could be milking this "not like us"
Absolutely
moment?
Absolutely.
Okay. You know what's funny is I'll be looking to see what the reaction always is online, all that kind of thing. And somebody, I don't know who it was, sorry, I can't give you credit, but somebody made a good point that they were like, people really think that Kendrick is milking this thing, and all he's done is put out the song, performed it. I mean, he performed it a hell of a lot of times, but performed it on one day and has put out a music video. This is not some forced rollout, no TikTok challenge, not on late night, not on SNL, not on not doing parodies with Joe and Kamala. I mean, they did that on their own. It's like,
we haven't seen him.
Kendrick's thing is just he literally did the same thing anybody would have done for any other thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's crazy because he is, unlike most people who probably would have bombed it all at one time, that it's we're gonna do the same weekend, we're gonna drop the song and do the concert and put out the video. It's like the fact that he's been able to ride these waves. Like, as soon as it kind of settles down, here's another thing and here's another thing. So the fact that he's gotten 3 distinct waves out of it, like out of one song, that's something that people don't do anymore.
Yeah.
I think the whole milking conversation is a combination of people, one, sort of not understanding the fact that someone like Drake got knocked off his pedestal for a little bit, and that's a bit discomforting to them, but also streaming in general has made us sort of forget how long songs used to last in the zeitgeist. Like, the song dropped by the top of May. It's July.
Not even April, yeah.
Like, it's just it's not even been half a year yet. Like, it's still a very fresh, current song. There's no way he's milking it. He hasn't really done much with it. It hasn't been that long. I think anyone saying that he's milking it, like, and saying that in good faith, probably just feels upset. Drake couldn't milk Family Matters the same way, or couldn't milk Push-Ups the same way. Like, Drake is the first person to drop a music video in this whole beef. So it's like, if we're talking about milking, is that not milking on its own? And you didn't even win when you did that. Like, you thought you were going to.
Yeah. Drake was the one who, for weeks, was like, drop. Oh, what are you going to do? We're waiting for you to drop. You're not going to get out of this one. He had all these streaming niggas being like, you're not going to get out of this one. Kendrick's going to disappear. The only time we've heard Kendrick speak is at the concert. He hasn't done any press. He hasn't posted online. He hasn't posted a journal entry. He hasn't done anything. We haven't seen this motherfucker outside of a musical institution yet.
The most we saw was him getting his cheeks pinched in that little pass by.
And that was at a music video.
That's like,
that was at the music video. Like, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
It's us who are milking it. We're the ones that are like, this is amazing. Like, we're all like, everywhere I go. I have, I spend a lot of time in upstate New York, a town called Rhinebeck. I went to go buy something from a store, and this white kid who was behind a counter was rapping Euphoria lyrics. Not like us. He was rapping these I get up there and he's like, let your core fan stomach that, and then tell him where you get your abs from. And I was like, are you rapping Euphoria? And this is like,
in Rhinebeck, New York, baby. That's how
I never heard
that's how
of Rhinebeck until he said it.
It's like, we're the ones who are milking it, and it's like, that's what happens to good music. Did we forget what happens to hit records?
Yeah.
Like, when Otis came out, I remember going to lounges or bars or clubs, and niggas were playing Otis 10 times.
You talk about Otis, niggas in Paris.
Like, you couldn't go anywhere without not hearing that song. They played that shit so much, I got tired of it.
Yeah.
And I loved that song.
Yeah.
Like, you would hear niggas in Paris, you'd be like, please, just play anything else. Just play anything. You pick any other song off the album. Just don't play this.
Yeah.
And They go to the concert, they play it. That's the standard of playing it like 10 times because it's so
Where it started
fucking
from.
good.
Yeah.
Like and these guys were like having art shows and doing interviews and like, is that milking it? Maybe. But this is not even close. Like literally Kendrick's done 3 things.
What does it mean to milk? Is my question. It's like,
I don't know.
You get a hit,
existential question.
You get a hit record. You work the hit record. Is that not what the business is?
Absolutely.
Like, did Drake not
Kendrick.
work his right? Did Drake not work his plethora of hit records?
Yeah.
Like, because it's Kendrick, it's a thing.
I don't
now?
think it's
or because
it's
like
Kendrick.
in the beef, it's a thing.
I
now?
think it's because it's a diss record. So we've never seen a diss record get even
So
back to back. It didn't get the
commercialized
video
way.
treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is a
They
whole
didn't get
new
the video
space.
treatment, that's true. But I mean, those videos with Drake performing them on tour that entire year used to go viral all the time. The song landed Grammy noms. Like, it's probably going to be the same fate for Not Like Us. Like, I just don't understand the argument that at this point in time he's milking it. If we're getting like a second music video and a remix in like November, okay, then maybe. But like, it's been 2 months.
Yeah. So let me pose you guys this question before we pivot. Do you guys foresee Kendrick potentially retiring the song from future set lists and concerts? How Drake retired back to back?
Probably. I can see that happening.
And how long would it take, you think?
I mean, I don't know Kendrick, but like just seeing how he's moved in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if whenever he drops this new album on that tour, he's like, all right, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done with this.
I think if he does, it won't be like a thing. He just will stop playing it. Like, I don't think he'll be like, I'm no longer playing Not Like Us. I think if he does anything like that, that would require some sort of reconciliation with Drake, which I just don't see happening in the near future.
Right.
Drake and Meek was a different situation. They dropped Going Bad like right afterwards, and Drake tends to reconcile because Drake likes
He reconciles all his beefs.
Like, I don't think
This one's never dying.
this one.
No,
is,
I don't think you can go backwards from this. I don't think you can.
You got the whole world calling you a pedophile.
Yeah.
Freaky ass nigga, 69
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
And it's
I wouldn't want to reconcile with it.
It's also when Kendrick played the song at the Pop Out and he made the set list he made for it. It fits so well together that on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps playing it, because listening to the songs at the Pop Out and then you listen to Not Like Us and you're like Euphoria and you're like, oh, this nigga might have been dissing him for like
Ever.
years.
Yeah.
This might have been like the bell finally got rung and this is it. This is what happens.
There's like 2 things I could see happening. One, first of all, I gotta make a correction that it did come out on May 4th. I was like, late April. It was May 4th, so I should have known better than to challenge Kyle. But to the topic of at hand, I think this either he does sort of retire it once this moment's over. There probably is no reconciliation. That would be the obvious reason to retire it. But I could see something where and this is something that does not happen nowadays. But it's like for him to do that one night at the Pop Out concert and that be the time it was live. And of course everybody's seen it because we had, it wasn't like it was you had to be in the room, but sort of amplify how important it was to do it that one time and that one time only. I could see him sort of, it's like, damn, the only time Kendrick Lamar has ever performed Not Like Us was, at the Pop Out concert, and we're waiting 20, 30, 40 years, for the next one.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's gonna do he's not gonna do it at the Grammys. He's not gonna do it, on SNL or any of that kind of shit again. So there's that. I could also see maybe on the next tour that he does, it's sort of he doesn't perform it, but I don't know, maybe it's like the closing exit instrumental or something where it's like, here it is. Y'all can. I mean, like I could see a situation really where it's the closing instrumental, the crowd stays, and they probably rap every word, and it's just kind of like, okay, you had that moment. Even though I necessarily don't have to always be the one out there leading it. So I could see something like that, kind of, a wink and a nod that, okay, there it was, but, I don't have to do it.
Yeah. I don't think he has to continue it. I think the concert and the music video did enough. I think it's good. The thing about the music video that I think is awesome before we leave is like the lyric to me that's been the crux of Kendrick's. We've talked about this before on the show, like how difficult it is to have the real conversation that we believe Kendrick's trying to have.
Yeah,
it's difficult to have on a macro scale. But I think the lyric to me that a lot of this hinges on is on Euphoria when he's like, you run to America to imitate heritage, but you can't imitate this violence. And I love that line so much because I don't think he means violence as in like literal violence. I just mean he thinks like this shit is real here.
It's the
and
onslaught.
you can't copy this.
Yeah.
And what he shows in the video is like shit you can't replicate.
Yeah.
Like there are comments on Twitter where people being like, oh, like, Drake can go to Houston and do this, and he could do that same thing. And it's like it's not the fucking same. One, because you're not from there. Two, would the city in every facet and form come out and form for him, right? Like maybe in Canada, which is fine, but the idea and the circumstances of this beef is like more so cultural identity versus racial identity.
Yeah. I feel like to that point, the question of whether or not Kendrick retires this song is really more of a question of can people understand that this song exists within the beef, but has also already transcended the beef,
right? In
a sense that it's like people have adopted it as an anthem for different reasons already. So it's like if this next album, for example, is super West Coast in sound, I see a scenario where he does keep it on the set list because it's probably the most recent song we've gotten from him in that pocket that'll help bridge, the morale era to what he's putting out now. But I think that's also part of just the bigger question of the people talking about milking it. It's like we're in that specific moment where the song is no longer just only about the beef, but also is like only about the beef at the same time. And that's a weird space for a song to exist in when you just have like regular pop hits and like statement tracks, but this is like squarely in both realms.
Yeah. Great points all across the board. I'm curious to see how Not Like Us shakes up the Hot 100 next week. But currently, speaking of the Hot 100, we have a new person running the show, running the table, Mr. Shaboozey.
Big Boozy.
A bar song, number one.
Big
Boozy. Topping the Hot 100.
Boozy.
Boozy. Topping the Hot 100, topping the Hot Country Songs chart. He becomes the first male to pull that feat. First black male to pull that feat. I know I got Mr. Trevor Anderson right there. He was going to clock me.
No, doing me was Morgan
But,
Wallace.
yeah, my apologies. Morgan, it's all love, baby. But Shaboozey becomes the second black artist to do so, following Beyonce earlier this year with Texas Hold'em that topped the Hot 100 and the Hot Country Song chart. What does this mean for not just Big Boozy, but
I'll say for me, it means everything. As someone who has a lifelong love of country music and has always wanted to see black artists succeed in that space in a really verifiable mainstream way, this has been an incredible year just as a watcher and as a listener. I also do think it shifts the Grammy race a little bit for both Shaboozey and Beyonce.
Okay.
Shaboozey, obviously, now this being an official chart-topping hit, like, I think his Best New Artist chances have just skyrocketed. Country song, country performance, record song of the year. Like, he could walk away with like 5 or 6 nominations at max. I think at one point in the season, because Beyonce has been so silent and like not really present throughout the Cowboy Carter era, it was like, can't you pull off an Album of the Year win with this one? But I think I won't call a win at all because I don't think it's going to happen personally. But I do think her chances do skyrocket a little bit because we have verifiable impact of what this album has done. Like, this album drops, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Bar Song drops, and obviously Shaboozey's on 2 tracks on that album, and he already had his own momentum going into a Bar Song in his new album. But having a second historic chart-topping country song by a black artist in this year, immediately after Texas Hold'em, it's like, you are doing something real with this thing. We're coming off the BET Awards. Tanner Riddell performed 2 original songs at the BET Awards. Shaboozey came out and did his song at the BET Awards. I don't remember. I mean, the last time the BET Awards had a country performance was Kane Brown, and that was like one of those weird 2020 performances where it was like, talking about racism through the music, but not really talking about it. But like, these are your records. These are actual hit records, and here's some space for that. Like, you really have seen the conversation around Black artists and country music significantly shift this year because of that album. Will that translate into votes? Probably not, but I think it does make her chances go up a little bit more than where they were, say, 4 weeks ago when there wasn't really a single moving anything from the record, because Texas Hold'em kind of died down and Too Most Wanted didn't really take off. But this does shake up the race a little bit, but overall, it's just a fantastic freaking moment. Like, you have a Nigerian American country star with the #1 single. Like, that's fucking dope.
Absolutely. Trevor.
Oh, that's like school we get called on. But, yeah, I mean, of course, I think Kyle hit on a lot of the key points. I was kind of surprised because I thought this song's moment had passed. It really felt like it was obviously in the conversation for a couple of weeks there, but between, you know, Not Like Us, the Post Malone and Morgan Wallen, I Had Some Help that was up there, Sabrina Carpenter coming through. It just felt like, okay, maybe it's just not going to work out. It'll be a top 5 hit. Obviously, it'll be a lasting top 5 hit, but, you know, it's found its way, obviously, to #1. So it's, I think, an extra win because of that, because it almost felt like people accounted it out and thought, okay, you know, the ceiling has been there. So we'll see, especially, you know, how long it keeps going. Of course, it doesn't really matter because it's always going to be in the books. And I do think that, kind of to Kyle's point, the conversation post Cowboy Carter, partially because of those same artists coming through, you know, Post Malone sort of back in a major way, Sabrina Carpenter exploding as, you know, the new face of pop music, Taylor dominating the album chart, that it felt like the Cowboy Carter and Black Country question had sort of not really translated into Q2 as much as it was a big thing around the Super Bowl when the album dropped and things like that. So for Shaboozey to have a, you know, not just a sort of talking point song, but an actual hit song on metrics, streams are there, radio is there, sales are there. I think that really goes to show that, yeah, this thing has more life than just Beyonce. Of course, Beyonce would have always wanted it to be more than just her.
Yeah.
But the fact that we see somebody else carrying it on, and hopefully that can inspire, you know, I mean, success begets success, right? I'm sure there's probably executives and people out there searching for the next kind of Shaboozey track and the next artist to help come up. And now that it's Kyle's point, not just sort of, you know, trendy to okay, well, you know, we need to go find Black artists because that's what, you know, people say they want, or that's what, you know, is the moral thing to do. If you're moved by business and numbers and money, then hey, Shaboozey's bringing in money. That album is actually staying very consistent as well. It's not just that this song is carrying every single thing. So I think that there hopefully will be, you know, it might take a minute to find the next one, but hopefully that there will be this won't just be a 1-year wonder kind of thing, to use my phrase from last week, but that hopefully we can really see some tangible results on the ground and that it keeps continuing for the next couple of years. Let
me pose you this, because we had a discussion last week about the Drake effect, and now we're kind of seeing the Beyonce effect. Is that a thing that we're seeing right now, as far as like these Black artists, especially in country, getting these kind of looks from a mainstream standpoint?
Yeah, it's hard to. It would be ignorant of us to say no, because Beyonce is such a massive force that of course it's going to be her movements are influential. So yeah, I don't want to give all the credit to Beyonce because, you know, as Kyle mentioned, you know, Shaboozey's been working so hard to do this. He's been making music for like 10 years. And this song, it's not like Beyonce happened, this song blew up,
right?
And then that was that. Like, this song did spike, but then he kept working it, and now it's back. Would this moment happen without Beyonce? Probably, but maybe not right now.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I feel like this moment would have happened maybe to a bit of a smaller extent.
Yeah.
Because I think we've been leaning towards a country moment for some years now. And I've been...
There's been a lot of false dawns of Black country stardom.
And I feel like this was the big like push for it over the years. But, you know, he had Annabelle going viral top of this year. He had Vegas going viral top of this year on the Spotify viral charts. Like, he did have his own sort of steam. It just helped that someone that big came along and highlighted him on 2 separate tracks on the record, alongside, you know, the plethora of other Black country artists on there as well. I also think it's really cool that he did it completely solo with this track.
Mhm.
Like, we still got time for him to drop like an official Jaquan remix and like.
Listen, I was
keep it
gonna
up
say
top.
nobody brought up the Jaquan stimmy.
Like,
You know,
Jaquan
the
Stimmy.
Jaquan stimmy. Listen, that BT
I would say,
Award
Is it really the
performance.
Jaquan
I-
effect that we
Kyle
got?
had
I
a
will
front
say
seat, that BT Award
the
performance.
theater went up when he
Yeah.
came out. That was nuts. Like, people really felt it when he came on stage. That was like, if he were to drop a real remix that we could stream,
Mhm.
like, it could stay number one for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a moment, man. Because I think I told y'all when I spoke to him on the carpet, I was like, "Yo, did Jaquan, like, you know, how do you feel about clearing it?" Was there a conversation? He said, "Yo, I ain't got nothing to say." Played it real coy. So none of us saw this coming, and just to see Jaquan get his flowers, cause God knows, my brother, we don't know where you been, but to see you outside in 2024, that kind of stage, I thought that was so fire.
Yeah.
I can't believe that shit is 20 years old. That was
Bro.
the part that really.
That's
I
a
was
perfect
like,
full circle moment.
yeah.
Now
yeah.
I really hope he does drop a remix and like it gets enough points to get him a credit because like the original Tipsy didn't go number one, but this one
Right.
did.
It
This
went
is,
number
like,
two. And,
This
you
is
know,
really
yeah.
cool. Like, I hope that we're able to like game that. Like, that's
go,
really cool.
Jaquan.
That's fun.
I'm happy for my guy, man. Shout
Good
out
for him.
Shout out to Jaquan, man.
Shout out to
But no, shout out to Big Boozy, man. That's a huge win for him. We're gonna pivot over to. I don't know if you guys been paying attention. I thought you were going to do the Tipsy beat. I was about to. I heard
you gonna
the.
freestyle a little bit?
I heard the.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get me back outside.
Get my
Yeah.
pencils out.
Listen, I don't know if you guys saw. Last month we dropped the 100 greatest rap albums of all time. We went through 100 to 11 the last few weeks. The top 10 is finally here. I'll go down 10 through 1
That's right.
and let y'all know what it is. Number 10, Slick Rick, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, Jay-Z, The Blueprint.
Classic.
Number 8, Rakim and Eric B, Paid in Full.
Classic.
Number 7, Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style.
Another classic.
6, Tupac, All Eyes on Me.
Another classic.
5, Notorious B.I.G, Life After Death.
Is that a classic? I believe it's a
pretty
classic.
sure it is. Number
Pretty
4,
sure.
Outkast, Aquemini.
What do all these albums have in common?
Number 3, Lord Hill, The Miseducation of Lord Hill.
Classics.
Number 2, Dr. Dre, The Chronic.
Pretty sure that's a classic.
And number 1, Mr. Nasir Jones, Illmatic.
Yes, sir.
We need a little like the little FaceTime, like, you know, the balloons or the confetti
Yeah.
thing come up when you accidentally do the thing or whatever, you know.
I feel like, you know, as we normally do with our list, we're gonna cause some chatter and conversation. One, obviously we made the list, so obviously we feel good about it.
It took a lot to get to a place where we all felt good about it.
Yeah, it took a lot. I
We
mean,
had to kill some sacred cows to get there.
and I'll be the first to say one of them sacred cows, Mr. Curtis, Interscope Jackson. You should have been in the top 10.
I mean, we don't even have Harlem World on the list.
Fuck
That's
Mace
my
and fuck
favorite
Harlem
rap
World. Respectfully,
Okay.
I
Wow.
love Mace.
Uh-oh.
I love Mace.
That don't sound like you do.
Yeah,
That
Yeah, I
doesn't-
mean, clearly not. You clearly
It's
don't
not
like me.
Go on, clip. Go on.
He's
clip
not
that
even on the
little
one.
cut.
No.
We couldn't even get Harlem World on the 100.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
That's
That was
crazy.
a lot.
That's crazy.
What
Yeah,
you
but
mean?
y'all had,
You
you
know
know, I
what?
won't even bring that up.
Wait,
I wasn't gonna make that one
that's-
up.
Let me just say this about Curtis, because I think the biggest knock on him, we had him on the tip. He was like number 11 and not making the top 10. Get Rich or Die Trying, phenomenal album. I feel like, you know, Slick Rick, respectfully. But, you know,
That is crazy.
that's
Like,
just, but
you got,
that's,
like, you
I think
cutting him like
Yeah.
all the way to the
I
end
think
zone. Like,
crazy.
I'm mature enough to say
Yeah.
I think it's the generational aspect, because I still, when I think of Get Rich or Die Trying, I think of 03, and that was just a whole
Yeah.
movement,
Yeah.
especially in New York City. I had the G Unit headband, had the G Unit sneakers. I thought I'd go crazy for Drake. I went crazy for 50.
we need the photos,
That
sir.
checks out.
Yeah.
We need the photos, sir.
So I'm curious to hear y'all, like, were there any glaring omissions, like personal omissions for y'all that you feel like should have been it on, or maybe
Mason Betha.
Mason Betha, Harlem World.
Harlem
Okay.
World, my favorite rap album.
Shout out to Mason.
Damn, you
Feel
got-
So Good was on there, right?
You know it's democracy because
Feel So Good. What You Want,
He had singles.
24 Hours to Live.
24 Hours to Live's a classic. He had everybody.
Just
on that.
incredible rapping. It wasn't what people wanted Mace to drop at the time, but it was a phenomenally successful record. The way you talk about 50, it came out at a time in my life where I was like running around, and I took it everywhere with me. It was when Bad Boy was at the peak of its powers, and no one knew what was going to happen, and then this guy was just like carrying everything on his back.
Yeah.
And he was everywhere. He was on every remix. He was killing it. He was beefing with Hove.
Is it 25 this year? It came out in 99, right?
It came out 98.
98? Okay, so 26. And this was post Big too, so this is him kind of taking on the baton.
It's
the baton, yeah.
Amazing album, but we all can't win. We all can't get what we want. So, I'll let it go.
You know what? And we call that maturity. We
growth.
call that maturity. I know, Kyle, you were looking at the top 10, and you.
I actually really have like more qualms with like the top 100.
Okay, and that's
the whole thing.
Listen, we're diplomatic.
That was
here.
the
whole
Not even like I just I would have loved to see Foxy Brown, Broken Silence in the top 100. That's one of my favorite female rap albums. And that wasn't there. Made me kind of sad.
Okay.
And considering the other
I know where he's going with
the
this
other
too.
albums that were included from the 2010s and 2020s. I think Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon was kind of wild also.
Yeah. Shout out to Pop.
And that might just me being like a born and bred Brooklyn boy going hard for my guy, but
I think the argument was the tape was the one that we would.
I think it was Meet the Woo too. I think cats were trying to say they had it higher.
I mean, we could have done either of them.
Well,
none of them made it. So.
I
would have been down with any collection.
That is fair.
None of them made it.
I mean, no, I thought the posthumous album. Shout out to the whole team, Stephen Victor.
The
50,
first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50 did. Stringing that whole thing together, orchestrating, getting the features.
An actual feed that still made it sound like Pop would have wanted probably something close to this to come out.
Absolutely.
I cannot say that about Faith, but
that should have just never dropped.
Never dropped.
If you were looking,
when they dropped that Dua Lipa song,
trash.
That was crazy.
Trash.
I can't forget about that. I'm haunted by that.
I wish I could, but I can't.
When you look at that album, you freaking got it on me. I remember listening to that, and I was like, "Yo, if you're looking for like the new age 50, like he just had that." Whole charisma and how he flipped that whole song too. Yeah. He had the little TJ record.
Mood Swings.
Yeah, Mood Swings. That was hard. What you don't know about love.
Well, yeah, that was
yeah. No, so shout out to Pop. R.I.P.
You not moved by it?
He's like, that was cute.
I didn't say anything. I fucked with Pop.
But those were the top 100. The top 10. The top 10 is solid. Like I just.
There's one album on there.
Well, we had a little pre-chat.
I love me some Lauren. I love me some Miss Hill. I love me some Miseducation. I think an album that has that much singing on it.
That's fair.
I don't know about a number 3 slot for top rap albums of all time.
That is very fair.
It's a solid amount of singing on that one.
That is very fair.
And some of the most beloved tracks on them are almost completely sung through. So it's like, I have some questions about that one.
I've always
not saying anything that the album itself is terrible or trash. No, it's great. It's a classic album. Love the record. Top rap albums of all time. I think the rapping that she does on there is pretty incredible rapping. Right. But front to back, I would put some more rapidy rap albums up there over it. Like I would put a Damn. I would put a T-Pab. Like I would put a Good Kid.
All Kendrick.
I mean, can you blame me?
I mean,
I noticed you didn't say Mr. Morale, but okay.
Let me pose you guys.
I ain't get there yet. Not too much. But I'm telling them Master. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. No, I wouldn't.
let me pose you guys. Speaking of Lauren, like, because I've always thought it was hard to kind of categorize her, especially when we did our MCs list last year. Is she a full-blown singer? Is she a rapper? How do you categorize Miss Lauryn Hill, especially for this being a rap
like, what do you call Drake?
Drake's a rapper.
She started off rapping. That was her.
I would say she's both.
There's videos.
Album,
absolutely both.
To me, I mean, the Grammys put it in R&B,
Mhm.
but you know that's the Grammys. What can
Yeah.
we really do with that? But like, I guess for me, like the album kind of defines like hip hop in terms of just like a combination of different things.
That's my argument. I would say is that there is a not to like, you know, try to more defy like a one drop rule, but
one drop rule for Johns is actually
That's crazy. If I hear one bar, that's a rap album.
But you know, I will say in terms of like hip hop, the totality of hip hop and like what hip hop can be and what hip hop can produce, Lauren to me is someone who is able to conjure all of it into one place and moving where the spirit moves her to create whatever, you know, the spirit moves her to create. It's like have that freedom to do that. To me, it's a hip hop album, and the rapping on there, yeah, it's to me, it's top notch. There was very few people at the time that are rapping better than her. I think the totality of the album is worthy of mentioning, just because, one, I want to say, like, we talk about influence. We didn't see the influence of this for a long time, mainly because no one was able to do what she did. And I believe if you know, I think all the other albums in the top 10 here, you can listen to them and clearly see what came after them. You know, like The Chronic and Aquemini, Biggie. You know, you can see very clearly, like, oh, this begat that, and this begat that. No one could do what Lauren did for a long time. That's why when everyone starts arguing about Drake, they're like, Lauryn Hill was doing this in the 90s. And I think that's to me, it's like, there was a time not too long ago when the best rapper in a New Jersey rap group made a solo album that was so unlike anything else. It transcended everything. And so it could be anywhere. It could be on any list to me. If you made it on an R&B list, a pop list, it could be on a soul list. It doesn't matter where you put it. But I thought it was, we would be remiss to not have it on this list. And then once we start grading it qualitatively just as an album, yeah, it's better than damn near everything on this list.
Then I guess my qualm is with the title then versus like the list itself. Because like, had it been best hip hop albums of all time, I probably wouldn't have a qualm at all. But having saying, you know, just best rap and not including hip hop in the title was like, okay, now my brain is like switching onto a different mode.
I would still argue the rapping is better than most things on here.
Which I would agree with.
Yeah.
I just how much of said record that's what it is. But you know,
because I feel like
Lauren.
it was maybe a 70-30 type of thing.
Probably 70% was singing.
Yeah, 70% singing.
I feel like
30% rapping.
Maybe
60-40.
Maybe in between those two.
Between 60-40,
yeah,
70-30.
I'd say about 2/3, 1/3.
And I feel like if we're not at least at 50-50, that's where I personally am like,
Oh yeah, I don't have that.
But then it's like that's a personal thing.
Because like, what other albums would that?
That's my thing.
Pertain to
exactly. In my head was just like, damn, that could pertain to a couple albums that I myself wrote blurbs for. So it's like, how far do I want to even go down this route?
Yeah.
But I think really maybe this is just residual. Just like I feel like
if you don't like New Jersey, just say that.
No, Jersey's cool. I ain't got no problem with Jersey. I think my issue is when it comes to canonizing rap and particularly female rap albums, it feels like people flock to Lauren's record not all the time out of good faith. I won't say that was like this particular list, but it feels like not that she's the safe pick, but that people like tend to go for her and don't really dig in terms of what else other female rappers have put out. Like I brought A Broken Silence, I brought like Il Nana, for example, or even, you know, Queen Latifah's albums, MC Light's albums. They don't get they don't
But that's a different time.
they don't necessarily get the same level of consideration in these conversations
that's great.
We always give miseducation. Like we just saw with the Apple Music list 2 months ago, and it's like great record. I'll never debate with the merits of the record. It's more like I wish that the rest of that subgenre also got. I feel like it really just gets canonized down to like hardcore, miseducation, invasion of privacy, Pink Friday, and it's like there's so much more.
Yeah.
Than those
Damn, Pink Friday got
It's on the
Got
list.
it, man.
list.
Well, I'm saying Pink Friday got into the conversation.
I personally wouldn't be.
I mean, we have
my
Queen
Nicki pick
Latifah and
for
MC
it.
Light on here.
We
got,
do.
you know,
Missy's number 20.
we have
so.
3
Right.
Missy
Yeah,
albums on
yeah.
here. So
And then maybe
But
this
it's
is just
sorta-
me
it's
being
sorta-
a Foxy stan.
It's sort of just
Which-
like
which-
all
hey,
the commercial
hey,
ones get the
I'm-
look,
Yeah.
I'm right there with
and
you.
the rest
Yeah.
of them don't. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we have. I think Missy's one of the only people on here who have 3 albums,
Yeah.
or 2 albums on here. And she, to me, was. I think we had a great conversation about where she landed because her albums were all amazing.
Mhm.
So you look at then the context of when they dropped and what was going on at the time and how they've aged considering its peers at the time. But man, talk about somebody who was just in their own league doing completely their own shit that I'm surprised no one has tried to I guess like maybe Tarawak.
Yeah, she's
Maybe.
probably the closest. I
Yeah.
think people try to
Yeah.
emulate Missy's production stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they just try to mirror like her rapping.
And singing.
outside
She
of
was
Tia,
Right.
really.
Singing.
And yeah,
And
she
singing.
she was
did,
another
yeah,
one that
yeah,
was like,
singing.
I can do anything.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, those are great points, Kyle.
Yeah. I think it's also very important to acknowledge the person who went number 1. Give Nas his flowers, Illmatic. 30 years.
Fucking dungeons
Come
of
on,
rap.
Queen.
30
fucking
years this year, you know, Whose World Is This? Life's a Bitch, New York State of Mind, so many classics on that. Freaking Library of Congress material right there.
It's a boring pick, but
Yeah.
it's to me, it's like if aliens came to Earth and they were like, "What is rap?"
Mm.
I'd be like, "Here, this is what rap is. It's
Yeah.
this,
Our best
this thing.
offering.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is what. This is the you know distillation of what we consider to be good, and it's like the idea of it is also something that was influential. Just I'm going to take the best producers
Mm-hmm.
out right now, and I'm gonna make this album that is gonna be unfuckwithable. You know, because before then it was like, I'm a rapper, he's a producer, or he's the DJ, and you know Nas and Large Pro were like, here's the best people working right now.
Yeah.
And you know, hearing people who are older than me talk about albums like Illmatic or like even Doggy Style when it came out, it puts it into perspective, because there's like me who I hear albums and you know I'm like, man, I'd never heard anything like that before. It changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was Illmatic to me, but I was younger when it happened. But hearing somebody who was older, I remember I had a security guard at my high school, and this was years ago, and he's like, man, when Illmatic came out, I didn't know people could rap like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know you could put words together in the way that Nas did. It was just like, we thought Rakim was just
I was just gonna say.
The one.
the it.
Yeah.
We thought he was like, this is rap. This is, it can't
Yeah.
get better than this. And then Nas comes along and it's just like insanity.
And to live up to those expectations too, because he was being dubbed like the next Rakim at like 19.
And to do it,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
then, you know, like, or to hear people talk about Doggy Style, like you talking to me about Get Rich or Die Trying
Mhm.
reminds me of Doggy Style, because when Doggy Style dropped, it was pandemonium.
Yeah.
And people in New York were going crazy for an album made in California, which was kind of unheard of. But you would see people just playing it in vans and on stoops, and it was just a complete takeover. It was the Get Rich or Die Trying of its day.
I was gonna say
You
from
know?
a commercial standpoint, I remember it had like that record for a while, like opening week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
highest like first week sales for
Yeah.
it. I
It
think
wa-
I debut hip hop album. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
then
the
Get
Get
Rich
Rich or
took
Die
that,
Trying of its
yeah.
time. It broke records. Everyone was listening. It was like a monoculture moment where everyone was just listening to it at the same time. And but yeah, I think, you know, going back to Illmatic, I think it's just an incredible piece of work. I think, you know, I can't imagine rap without it, which I think is probably, to me, the highest thing I can say.
I'm sure Nas is somewhere like.
I was gonna say that's
I was heartfelt.
a touching kind of That's wow.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said. This was a fun, great episode. When you guys get the chance, please check out our 100 greatest rap albums list in its entirety, done by our beautiful staff, and give us a shout. But until then, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Billboard Unfiltered.